I should specify that I have enjoyed What If. As of recording this, I haven't seen the third season, and who knows when I'll end up uploading this, but I still find it incredibly odd that What If, a show that could conceivably go on forever, is ending after 3 seasons. Because past any of the complaints, whether it's good or not, the concept of What If could be mined infinitely. And I'm honestly surprised they're not going to keep the show going forever, because they could. Of course, of the many issues levied at the MCU's What If, the biggest flaw that I can't argue with, aside from the fact that it shouldn't just be 3 seasons, is that the initial jumping off point for some of the episodes simply aren't interesting, coming off as the most basic what if idea that a child would think of. I don't think that's necessarily true, and there are some episode concepts that are undeniably great, but I do wish the overall creativity of the episodes was further reaching. After all, every single what if concept should be something inspired, that in and of themselves, divorced from the animation style, overall maturity, the existence of source material, or anything else, brings in viewers, simply because they want to see that intriguing initial concept expanded upon. But to give the MCU credit, I don't think the writers are concerned with solely creating interesting what if concepts. And though that is an inherent flaw, it is also important to create compelling characters and exciting adventures that have satisfying endpoints, and that is a clear focus for the team behind the MCU's What If series. Welcome to Sandwich Reviews. I'm the Talking Sentient Sandwich, and I want to play devil's advocate and look at the possibility that having only 3 seasons of sometimes middling what if ideas could be a good thing. Because if the writers have an overarching story that they are trying to tell about the Watcher himself that interconnects with Battleworld and the multiverse saga as a whole, then let's let them cook. If we look at the Watcher's arc as a character throughout the 2 seasons we've seen and the small glimpses we've gotten from the season 3 trailers, there is genuinely something there. It's not the most heartfelt story ever, not even the best in What If, but there is plenty about Uatu going from a passive observer to someone who can't help but get involved, which I'm pretty sure is going to get him in a lot of trouble. But before we get to the other Watchers and how they enforce their rules, I want to talk about the many characters and worlds developed over the course of the 2 seasons we've got so far. A couple of which have been one and dones, yet even then, you knew someone from it would somehow make it to the season's finale, which have both integrated all of their overlapping stories into a climactic conclusion, the second of which easily could have come across as a MacGuffin-filled generic superhero punch-up, but it was emotional thanks to it leaning on the characters. One of the most important of which, aside from the protagonists, that I will get to, is Doctor Strange. To my knowledge, he doesn't go by any other moniker, which might be confusing, but I'm just gonna call What If's Doctor Strange Evil Doctor Strange, despite the fact that he is clearly misguided and not evil. Though this video is riddled with spoilers for the show, spoiler warning, because I do want to comment on the fact that he is seemingly dead. But it's What If. Anything can happen. Besides, we never actually saw him die. I'm probably biased though because he is one of my favorites. And of my favorites, it's always hard to choose a favorite episode because I have different moods that crave different styles, making a show like What If perfect for me. But if I had to choose, it'd be the zombie episode because goddamn that episode is so much fun and I can't wait for either a continuation of that world or just another zombie world in a year with the show Marvel Zombies. But aside from that, if I had to choose with the emotional side in mind, it'd still be the zombie episode. That last speech where T'Challa is talking to Spider-Man about hope, or even T'Challa's Star-Lord episode. The real world and in-story implications of those two had me crying. But with the exception of those incredible moments, what I was obviously leading to was Doctor Strange in episode 4. His whole journey of loss and desperation creates a perfect sympathetic villain that you may not want to win, but clearly don't want to see lose either. But other than him, the 2 other characters given lots of focus is Captain Carter and Kahori, both of which are more or less original creations for the show. There's plenty of inspiration that can be pointed to for them, but for the sake of not diving into the comic origins of Captain Britain or some of Marvel's native heroes, I'll just say they're new and they're great. Captain Carter has gotten some hate recently, but I don't understand why. When it comes down to it, she is just a Captain America clone, but I guarantee with even more time and focus, she'll continue to develop into her own person. Sure, when it comes to live action, I wish more focus was given to Sam or Carol, who should have been the main players of the multiverse saga to begin with, but that fact doesn't have to take away from Captain Carter. And for What If specifically, I think she's a fantastic focal character. It's hard to say whether or not she'll be What If's primary protagonist in season 3. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but I have a feeling that with how important she's been so far, she'll have a lot to do in the final arc of What If. And Kahori may not be someone that I know a lot about, but I guarantee will become a staple of the MCU soon enough. And with her seemingly appearing alongside Storm in season 3, I'm hoping she becomes recognizable enough that people recall her when she inevitably comes back in Avengers Doomsday, played in live action by her voice actress. But none of that matters when compared to how I think What If is going to wrap up. Will it be more of an ambiguous ending with hints for more, or will it be more definitive? Especially with the formula of 3 clear-cut seasons, I think it'll be more of a definitive ending, but considering the extremely likely chance of this tying into Secret Wars and Battleworld, it may not be as cut and dry as one might think. And I don't want to overstep too much and make any massive claims for a show that in 1 week I'll be disproven for anyway, but I do have 2 predictions I want to talk about. The first of which has to do with the other Watchers besides Uatu, and the second having to do with a specific story that I'm pretty confident has been confirmed to be episode 6, right before the penultimate. But let's talk about the Watchers first, because with them, I sort of understand from the comics that they enforce themselves. Whenever it was brought up what Uatu was allowed to do, or even the one time Stan Lee was revealed to be their informant in Guardians 2, I always wondered what kind of enforcement would be utilized for the MCU's version of them. It seems like the other Watchers are going to find out what Uatu has been up to, and will not be happy with how involved he's been. I just have no idea what they'll do once that comes to light. One thing I do have a good idea about, and what I'm confident will lead to the other Watchers finding out about Uatu's interference, is episode 6, titled 1872. And if you've heard of this comic, you probably know where I'm going with this, but to quickly skim over the bullet points of that, it's about a parallel Avengers team that forms in, you guessed it, 1872, featuring all the known characters in altered yet familiar roles, such as Sheriff Rogers, Banner the Apothecary, Stark the Town Drunk, Fisk the Corrupt Mayor, and so many more. And when I first saw that they were naming an episode 1872, my first concern was that they just do the same thing as 1602, as in just another Avengers team in a different time period. But just from the implications of it being near the season and show finale, I'm guessing, more hoping I suppose, that this episode and story will be tremendously impactful, because the comic world of 1872, if you weren't already aware, is an offshoot of Battleworld, and was created by Doctor Doom. Now, I have a good feeling that the 1872 story will probably be adapted in the same way that 1602 was, meaning it's mainly just the name and concept, but doesn't follow anything else too closely. And I sincerely doubt that Doctor Doom himself will be in the series finale of What If, or the lead up to it, especially considering that it would be the first time seeing the MCU's Doctor Doom. And if anything, Marvel will save that for Fantastic Four, but I do think his presence will be felt, at the very least, to establish what Battleworld is, and to hint at a possible future where the multiverse has been folded into it. And I could see all of this tying heavily into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, particularly when it comes to Uatu always wanting to view universe-altering events. But with those Avengers movies being so far away, it is hard to picture What If, a small-time Disney Plus animated show, and the future Avengers movies pivoting around each other too heavily. Worst case scenario, both What If Season 3 and those Avengers movies are crap, reliant on each other in the worst ways possible that requires viewing or else the audience feels lost. And the more than a year in between will only open up the story to being a laughing stock for Hollywood. But best case scenario, season 3 of What If comes out to be a fun standalone project, and we'll maybe see Uatu in the stars for a second in Secret Wars, similar to X-Men 97, which if you are keen-eyed enough to notice him, awesome, but if not, that doesn't change a thing. Yet speculation aside, whether or not Battleworld and Secret Wars are hinted at in What If's finale, are you excited for season 3 of What If? Are you a fan of what we've gotten? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for weekly video essays and reviews, and enjoy a delicious sandwich.